Today we're going to be looking at this Timex military field watch. And there's a lot about this watch that is very confusing. Let me go ahead and get into it. On this box here it says Weekender. It also mentions that it's a military watch. And usually Timex, when they refer to military watches, it goes under the MK1 style. But we're going to get online and we're going to see that other places are calling this watch an MK1 while others are calling it a Weekender. So we're going to sort through all this confusion. I'm going to go ahead and say it's an extremely handsome watch. There's nothing not to like about it. Timex made similar watches that have stainless steel cases, aluminum cases, as well as resin cases or plastic. This one is stainless steel. Okay. Here's a magnet, obviously. It is stainless steel, but it has kind of this, for the lack of better words, kind of a titanium finish to it. But it is a stainless steel watch. I only mention that because not all the Timex military watches are stainless steel. It has the indiglo feature by pressing in the crown. The outside of the band is a canvas. We'll notice this design. It's ribbed with this line going down it that's slightly off center, and that's on purpose. And then I think it is, but down here the line is completely centered where these holes are, and there's no way that's a mistake. I'm sure they did it on purpose, and it looks fine. We'll notice that these holes have these protectors. It's the same color and material as the case, as well as the buckle. It's all in this, so it's all matches the case. Oddly, as you can tell right off, is the crown does not match the case, which is fine. All three hands are glow in the dark, as well as the hour markers. It's a military field watch, so the way we know that is well, the color a little bit, but they make these of all different colors. It's a 12-hour dial, a 24-hour dial. The triangles are very common with military watches and military-style watches, as well as the second hand with the circle. It just has that military look to it. Kind of turning the watch over is leather lined. The watch itself is made in the Philippines. The band is made in China. It has the popular 2016 battery in this quartz movement. And the battery, the 2016, is always a lithium battery. The case is 40.5 millimeters across from side to side. There will be other sources on the internet that says 40 or 39. It's not. I've checked it many times. And then also you see the acrylic domed crystal, which I like. It's very nostalgic. Don't get acrylic crystals mixed up with sapphire or mineral. It is acrylic, which means plastic, and this is what Timex and almost everybody else used in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and so I think it goes really well. And this look of the domed acrylic crystal is popular today, and a lot of people that modify their watches, whether they're Timex, Seiko, or other brands, are modifying their watches to have this look, but this comes right from the factory like this. And this is very reminiscent of a Timex watch that you would find in the 1970s and 80s. In fact, I've done a couple of, or several Timex videos in which I deal with vintage military watches and watches that look a lot like that, but are the original ones from many years ago. Companies make all kinds of different variations. I've already mentioned that the cases, you can find Timex making anything from 36 to 40 millimeter cases with their watches. So when you're going to pick out a Timex watch or Seiko or any other brand, be careful because they all look extremely similar, that you get the size that you want. Also, like I've already mentioned, the material. I like stainless steel, but they also make them in aluminum and resin. So make sure it's the right material of case that you want. Thirdly, make sure it's the right type of crystal that you like. You might like a mineral crystal or you might like acrylic. Make sure it's that you look at the watch you're ordering very carefully before you buy it. Also, you have Timex makes different watches. Some of them have a wind-up movement. Some of them have an automatic movement, which is in the mechanical family of movements, as well as quartz. And then watch companies also make solar type movements. So when you go to buy a watch, there's many different variations, and they can all look practically the same. Also, we'll notice that this does have that titanium look to it. You may not like that particular look. You might want it to be shiny or so forth. Also, we notice that this has a canvas band here and a leather on the outside. You might just want a pure canvas band. And there's a ton of different bands that watches come with. Some of them do not use these spring bars. Some of them just loop on through. Kind of a NATO design. This one, this is not a NATO design, but the bands that go are slip-through bands, or that's what, and some watches have that. So when you're going to buy any watch, particularly military watches, there's a ton of different variations of them, even within the Timex line. So here it is on my wrist, and here's what it looks on the back. I have a 7 3/8 inch wrist, so that's what it looks like. People like me to show this on my wrist. I don't like to show my wrist because it has all these scars on it, and I think it distracts from the watch itself. But anyway, that's what it looks like on a 7 3/8 inch wrist. Okay, if your wrist is 7 inches or smaller, I would not recommend getting this watch. I would recommend getting a 36 to 38 millimeter. This would probably be a little bit big on your wrist. At least that's my opinion. But if your wrist is my size or a little bit bigger, this works perfectly. Alright, now we're going to get into some really interesting things that are even more interesting than what we covered, I think. This watch came out in 2018, and I think they made it for several years. This watch, I think, was a watch that was sold in the United States and in France as a Timex export. When I was doing research on this watch, it became very confusing to me. When I look at this watch, the first impression I got, and you probably did as well as you're watching this, is that it's obviously an MK1. Although the box, as I've already pointed out, says Weekender military watch. Timex makes Weekender watches, obviously, and many of their Weekender watches do have the 12-hour dial and the 24-hour dial. This has a whole MK1 style with it. In fact, a lot of the MK1 watches come with this exact band. They also use on MK1 watches different bands, but in the Weekender line, they also use a variety of different bands that can be canvas and ribbed. However, this is a classic MK1 style band that they use on various watches. Let's go ahead and look here for a second. This box that I got with the watch, I assume it's right. Some of the things do match up perfectly. The movement's in Philippines, the strap is in China. This thing says it's a military watch. It is. It says the strap, it identifies the strap exactly like this. Here's the number that we have right here. And then they have this number here. Okay? They're not the exact same number. Alright? So we're trying to do a little bit of research here. It's possible that the seller I bought this from gave it a different box, put it in a different box. However, you got this is consistent, that's consistent, as well as calling it a military watch, and it says, as I've already mentioned, their description of the strap matches this. And also it says indiglo, which it is, and 30 millimeters water resistance. Okay, let's go over to the computer and then we're going to look at a couple of different things. The image we're looking at here is not from the Timex website, but this is from a huge seller on the internet. And it's not the same watch. This is a chronograph, and the watch we're looking at is not a chronograph. But it is a Timex MK1 steel, okay? And we see the same band right here. So that kind of is an indication of this in the MK1 line. Now we're looking at the Amazon page. This again is not the exact same watch, but it's similar. Ours has a different band on it. This is a slip-through band. And also, this is an aluminum case and not the stainless steel. But it looks very much the same. But the price point would be higher on this watch. But again, it's the MK1 line. Here we are, we're on the Timex webpage. We go over to watches, and we go over to men's watches, then we go over to here. Let's look at something really quick. Do you see the collection Weekender there? It's not on there, is it? Do you see the collection MK1 on there? No, it's not on there. So we go over here to the search. We just type in Weekender. Okay, here's the Weekender. So they do make Weekender. Not only that, but you can customize them on Timex, which is really cool. You can change the colors of the dials and the bands and all that. It's really cool, but that's a video for a different day. But Timex does make the Weekender. And we'll notice also that the dial is a 12-hour dial and a 24-hour dial on those particular watches. Those particular Weekenders, 38 millimeter, 40 millimeter. Extremely similar. Now there's some huge differences here. We notice that the lug here is smooth, but this it utilizes a different case. But as far as the 12-hour and the 24-hour dial, it's the same. Okay, so there's the Weekender. And then we go again into the search and we type in MK1. And there's MK1 watches. All the MK1s that Timex is currently selling, or at least on their web page, are the 36 millimeter. They have different bands on them. That's one of the reasons is this is a 2018 model, and these are more recent. Okay, but the size, they don't have the 38 or 40 millimeter MK1 like this watch is. Alright, let's go back to watches. You can see where it's very confusing to people, because Weekender is one of Timex's best-selling watches, yet it's not even on their Shop By collection, and neither is the MK1. Now you might say, well, the MK1 might have been replaced by the M79 in the Navy and others, but there obviously are MK1s right here on their web page that are current models. What we see here is a watch. That certainly looks like the same watch to me. You got Timex MK1 steel military style fabric. All that's good. Let me tell you where I'm going with. TW2R68100. TW2R68100VQ. It's a different number. This one is a UL on the end and not a VQ. Okay. So I don't know what the difference is there. I don't know. Also, we look at the Walmart price. It's $109. A company the size of Walmart's not going to make a mistake there. Of course, it's out of stock. Their last price was $41.77 before it went out of stock. I understand all that. But the price tag is $69.99. I think the viewer can see where I'm going with this. It's very confusing. And again, they say the case is 40 millimeters. That's fine. I keep getting 40.5. It's not a big deal. I don't get it. I don't know exactly what the difference is between VQ and UL. I don't know why the retail price was $109, but on this watch is $69.99. You might say, well, in 2018 when this watch was made, that the price was $69.99, but then in the last couple of years it skyrocketed to $109 with inflation. And I know that since Biden's taken office, we have been experiencing huge inflation, but I don't understand. That still doesn't make sense. And to the best of my knowledge, this watch was not made in 2021. I think the last year was 2020. So there's other things here that I don't understand. Also, in this picture here, what do we see here? Is we see that the crown is the same color as the case. We also notice that the crown is not sticking out. It's just probably an artistic thing, and maybe it was a photoshopped, but all Timex indiglo watches, the crown is always sticking out until you push it in to activate the indiglo. So why is it on this watch that the crown is the same color as the case? Is this a mess up? I don't know. And what we see here is a very similar watch. What do we notice first is that the band here looks extremely similar, but not exactly the same. It doesn't have the stripe. You know, here it kind of looks like it, so maybe in different lighting. But what I'm looking at here is the band is extremely similar, but not exactly the same. But it might be. I don't think it is. Also, it's called the MK1. Why is Amazon pricing at $75? Or the sellers on Amazon? I'm sure there's a very good reason. If we look at the part number, it's the same on this watch that we've been looking at, but mine has the UL on it. But this part here is consistent. Acrylic, all this is consistent. Notice here, case diameter 39 millimeters. It's 40.5, so that's, it might be 40, but I think it's 40.5. I measured it many times. They have it down as 39 millimeters, so that's confusing to me. Otherwise, everything else here is consistent. Let's look at the reviews. Amazon, 4.3 out of 5. I'm going to go ahead and say this real quick. The people that are not giving it 5 stars, almost all of them are saying that they don't like that the band is kind of stiff. Well, to me it's fine. To most people it's fine. I don't understand why anybody would knock it for that. Some people are saying that they don't like that it has an acrylic crystal. Well, if you don't like it having an acrylic crystal, don't buy a watch with an acrylic crystal. Get one with a mineral. Translate all reviews into English. So we're going to press that on the Amazon site. And when you do that, you get to see all of the reviews, and you'll get them all translated. Most of the reviews, to me, seem to be coming from either the United States or France. So is the reason why this watch is kind of an oddball is because it's mostly an export defense. I don't know. You would think that instead of the price being a dollar sign, that it'd be in francs or the euro or whatever they use over there. But notice right here that this particular tag is written in French. as well as English. That's why I think that this was a French export, and I think that explains some of the oddness here. If you were to go through all these, they're excellent reviews. The only people that I see that are giving it not great reviews are people that says that the band is too stiff or they don't like the acrylic crystal. So it's getting excellent reviews. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit different. If you have any answers to any of the questions that we brought up in this video, I would love to hear what you have to say. My wife and I are Christians and Republicans, so all of our videos are family friendly. None of our videos have anything to do with communism or immorality or anything like that, and so families can watch them and not have to worry about any bad words coming up or bad attitudes or anything like that. Okay, well, thank you for watching and have a good day.